Welcome to the Big Story. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
Tonight's Big Stories. The DICT is downplaying a recent report of Chinese hackers stealing government data, saying no current information was compromised.
And inflation quickens in December due to higher costs of fuel, utilities, and housing. But overall for 2024, the increase in prices of goods was within the government's target range.
And the BCDA begins its formal takeover of Camp John Hay in Baguio City, eyeing a business-as-usual atmosphere in the historic tourist destination sooner than later.
Our top story for tonight, it all started with a Bloomberg report that claimed sensitive data had been stolen from the Philippine government. The Office of the President and other agencies dealing with defense and security were supposedly targeted by threat actors.
Now, according to the article, the breach was the work of state-sponsored Chinese hackers who have been recruited for an espionage campaign going on years now. They were allegedly successful in pilfering multiple documents, some of which were linked to the West Philippine Sea dispute.
But the Department of Information and Communications Technology was quick to downplay the breach. DICT Secretary Ivan Uy admits that while there are constant attacks on vital Philippine systems, they remain mere attempts. He stresses that the DICT and other concerned institutions have so far been able to detect and counter breaches at their initial stages. Secretary Uy likewise assures that no sensitive information was compromised by any of these hacking attempts.
So far, what we have seen is that no current um, information has been compromised. What we've seen so far are old data from many years ago that are being regurgitated, recycled, just to make an impression that they were successful in doing so.
Let's flesh out this story some more with DICT spokesman Aboy Paraiso, who joins us now via Zoom. Welcome to the Big Story, ASEC.
Thank you for having me back, Gretchen, Shawn, Pauline. It's good to be back.
Now,
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
New Year, new problem. Well, ASEC,
New Year, old problem.
Oo nga pala. Well, according to this Bloomberg report, military data had been stolen by state-sponsored hackers from China. They are actually called Advanced Persistent Threat Groups, or APT, to be exact. Can you confirm that this actually happened, that this had been stolen from the executive branch from 2023 to 2024?
Well, if you can remember, as early as January of 2024, we've been very transparent with our countrymen and our citizenry that we experience several attempts. In fact, in any given day, it's around 100,000 to 1,000,000 attempts per day. But so far, given this report, we looked at our systems, we tried to verify from our intel sources, and so far, as earlier stated by Secretary Ivan Uy, there are no evidence to substantiate that there are any data, sensitive data or military data that was gotten from our systems. We continuously try to invite these threat actors to show proof and provide that they have correct data that they have exfiltrated from our systems. But so far, none has surfaced.
But did the President's office request for details on the hack back in May 2024 as cited in that Bloomberg report, showing an email requesting for that report?
No. You have to remember, around that time, I think it was not May, but June, that there were also reports that we received that the Chinese threat actors, and in fact, we identified these threat actors. We located their IP addresses, and we identified their methodology, their procedures, and narrowed it down to several Chinese citizens and threat actors that have the same MO. So as far as the email, that there has not been an email that was sent to DICT requesting for on that time period that you mentioned, requesting for any investigation or briefing.
Asik Aboy, I guess the bottom line here is how accurate was that Bloomberg report? Usually they are pretty accurate and they double check and vet their sources before they put out such reports. So, given that they did report that there was a breach, can you confirm whether or not merong breach at exactly how far did it get or how far did it not get?
Well, as far as the ICT and the government is concerned, we can only rely on our sources. So we checked our systems. We also checked our sources when it comes to several the forums in the dark web. Kasi usually naman, you have to remember, Sean, pag sila nakapag-penetrate or nakapag-exfiltrate ng data, immediately pinopublish nila yan doon sa mga forums natin eh. So we get an idea of whether there was true hack. And as far as the ICT is concerned, we have always been transparent. Pag may hacking naman talaga na nangyari, it's good for us na masabi na nagkaroon ng hacking for us and that particular agency na para ma-improve yung systems nila.
So sa madaling salita, ang nagyari ba ay may nag-attempt mag-hack pero wala silang nakuha and therefore walang na-upload sa dark web?
Yes, we can say that there's no evidence. May nag-attempt, yeah. On a daily basis, marami nag-attempt. Kung may nakuha silang data, wala pa nagsusurface. At kung may nagsurface man, ito yung binabanggit ni Secretary Ivan Uy na mga lumang data na nakuha nila from previous administrations pa.
Well, ASEC, based on your investigation, how sure is the DICT that these hackers are actually Chinese and that they're also state-sponsored, as indicated in that Bloomberg report?
Well, we wouldn't go as far as saying they're state-sponsored. But based on the consistent documented techniques, their MOs, their procedures, we can narrow it down to Chinese threat actors, Chinese threat actors. In fact, we can name them at yung 41 and I think it's APT21. But again, we cannot go far as to say they are state-sponsored.
Pero I guess the other question is, bakit naman ipapublish kung sakasakaling state-sponsored itong mga hacker na ito? Isn't the goal to get information from us? Why would they publish that? I mean, is it a possibility that these hackers are actually state-sponsored and that they're keeping the information that they're getting from our websites? And what kind of military data could have been gotten if there is a chance that that report is true?
Well, given your theory, Gretchen, we will not discount that possibility. But as far as our investigation has gone, wala kami nakitang any breach sa systems ng particularly the agencies that were named in that Bloomberg report, the Office of the President and our military institutions. At kung halimbawa hindi pa naman nila pinapublish, we can only speculate on the various reasons why they did not publish that. One particular reason that we're looking at is wala talaga nakuha data.
Okay. Asek Aboy, since you mentioned nga no, na mga medyo almost 1 year na yung tong non-stop and heightened attacks by threat actors and ATPs, ano na ba yung headways na na-achieve ng DICT in terms of trying to protect? We understand the structure is magko-consult sila sa inyo pero hindi sa inyo talaga in charge yung security no per agency. But as it is, how are the agencies doing no, in keeping up their security systems, at least in the online space?
Well, as far as headway goes, the DICT in particular is procuring several systems that would para magbi-build ng firewall around the country that would provide an initial layer for the threat actors and several attempts to hack our systems. As far as several the government agencies na nagpo-procure ng mga systems sila, to be fair naman sa kanila, nagsasabit na sila ng mga ISSP nila or immediate immediate systems procurement nila sa DICT to be approved. Yun nga lang, like you said, after namin ma-approve, kasi kailangan nila yan para ma-releasean ng budget eh. After sila ma-releasean ng budget, we have no oversight over their whether they procured what they submitted to DICT or they went another way. Diba? Hindi na natin alam yun eh. So that's why we're working with our legislators for the passage of the Cybersecurity Act.
Asek, how many of our agencies have the old system or what you call the legacy system. Let's move away from that Bloomberg report to what Secretary Ivan Uy said in his press con na meron tayong vulnerability dito sa old system. No? So sa mga ahensya po natin, lahat po ba yan nandun pa rin? Gaano karami na yung nag-update to a new system? Do we have a model agency to look out after if we were to say that sila ang pinaka-advanced in terms of
Well,
cybersecurity?
to answer your last question first is, I think yung mga financial institutions natin, yung BSP natin has the most advanced because they are, again, financial institutions. Hindi lang yung government or yung mga global standards for government agencies na sinusunod nila, but for financial institutions as well. So I think they have, they're the model agencies, but they have another layer of requirement kasi na sinusunod nila. As far as yung mga line agencies po natin, to be fair ho, karamihan naman sa national government natin, particularly the departments are making headways into procuring and veering away from the legacy systems in procuring to updated systems natin. Nagiging problema ho natin yung mga attached agencies, yung mga medyo maliliit ho yung budget na hindi kinakaya na makapag-upgrade na systems at lalong-lalo na ho yung mga LGUs natin.
Pero karamihan po ay nandito pa rin sa legacy system. Nasa proseso pa lang ng pag-upgrade. Tama po ba?
Pagdating ho sa mga LGUs ho at saka doon sa mga agencies, mga ahensya, yung mga attached agencies na maliliit lang ho yung budget.
Asek Aboy, balikan natin itong sinasabi mong national firewall. Can you tell us more about whether that will protect not only government agencies and institutions but also the private sector? Like, kumbaga para siyang the whole country is protected. And is there a timeline for this? And given kasi na recently, no, pinag-uusapan natin budget issues, meron ba tayong budget para ma-secure at least that?
Well, ideally, we would have wished to have gotten a bigger budget to procure a more complex and a complete system. But that firewall that we were talking about would be sufficient para as an initial layer para do sa buong bansa natin. And correct, hindi lang ho yung mga ahensya natin sa pamahalaan ang pinoprotektahan niya, but yung mga private sectors as well.
Well, Asek, sinabi naman po ni Secretary Ivan Uy no, na these attacks are nothing new. In fact, there are always constant attacks on Philippine systems. But how many exactly attacks do you monitor per day on Philippine systems? And are you also monitoring any other foreign threats?
Well, that is a constant for us. We monitor around, like I said, 100, anywhere from 100,000 attacks per day to 1,000,000 attacks per day. And as far as we're monitoring these threat actors, whether they're local or they're foreign, ginagawa rin naman ho ng DICT yan. We, again, given the budgetary constraint, we would have wished na magkaroon din kami ng Intel funds, which is very, very vital for us sana. Kasi we should veer away from the thinking na ang DICT po ay ano lang yung mga IT experts lang or IT consultants. We also deal with cybersecurity. That's why we need also yung intelligence budget for our intelligence build-up para doon sa mga threat actors po natin.
Well, good that you brought that up. I mean, we haven't heard the DICT in that conversation, right?
Pero wait, speaking of Gretch, gusto ko muna itanong rin si Asek Aboy no, kung involved ba kayo in any way sa upcoming midterm elections in terms of all these mga IT and security concerns and issues?
Well, yes. The simple answer is yes. We are a member of the COMELEC Advisory Council. That's one. And second, we are part of that team or that task force that would also monitor yung paglalabas ho ng mga fake news, yung mga deepfakes, pagdating ho sa upcoming elections. In fact, given the recent meeting we had last December, I think the ICT would be spearheading the campaign po.
Pero dito po sa actual system used for the elections, which is a Miru system, hindi po kayo nakadikit noon?
Nakadikit ho kami as an advisory capacity to COMELEC. Kasi
But not the system. Not your system.
Kasi we have to remember that according to our constitution, that the sole power to conduct the elections, whether it's yung hybrid elections, traditional elections, or itong online elections natin, lies solely with the COMELEC.
Oh, we do ask that because Secretary Ivan Uy said in the press con also that you guys are monitoring the significant increase in those probing and attacks as we come nearer to the elections. So just as a final question, should we worry about anything? I mean, what can we take from this? Us, the public, and what's been happening, bakit may increase leading up to the elections?
Well, I think it's the world trend right now to influence elections, not only with the Philippines, but several other elections happening around the world to influence the elections. There are several attempts to manipulate the elections, whether it's physical manipulation or yung, manipulation of the system, or even yung manipulation ng voters natin to misinformation, disinformation. I think that was mentioned by Secretary Ivan Uy as well earlier. So these are the things that the DICT is monitoring, and pagdating naman ho dun sa systems ho na COMELEC, we constantly communicate with them and consult with them whether that these particular attempts or threats that we monitored would affect the elections this coming May.
Because the information space online it proves to be very influential, especially in today's elections. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We hope to get the more information and details in the coming days. But in the meantime, maraming salamat for joining us on the Big Story tonight. DICT spokesperson Asek Aboy Paraiso.
Now moving on to another story, Malacanang is viewing with concern the presence of a Chinese vessel in Zambales. The Philippine Coast Guard has been sending radio challenges to Beijing's ship with bow number 5901 since it was spotted a few days ago. The so-called monster ship, which is 165 meters in length, is 54 nautical miles off Capones Island and is well within the Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone. The PCG noted the proximity of the vessel to the Zambales coastline, raising suspicions that China is now closing in on Bajo de Masinloc, a traditional fishing ground for Filipinos.
We view it with concern. So, ganito yan. So far, we have been challenging the presence of that monster ship. The Coast Guard, our Coast Guard, has always been very alert in following up yung presence of that monster ship.
Speaking of the palace, Malacanang is also washing its hands off Edgar Matobato. He is the self-confessed assassin who has already reportedly left the country.
Wala kaming masabi dyan dahil we have no connection with Mr. Matobato. No? Whatever is his purpose in going out, we cannot control that. But if he intends to go to testify in another forum, that's also beyond our control. No? Hindi namin siya ina-encourage, hindi rin namin siya dinidiscourage.
In a New York Times interview, Matobato recounted his time with the alleged group of former President Rodrigo Duterte called the Davao Death Squad. He claimed to have killed more than 50 people upon the orders of Duterte and has received monetary reward for successful hits. Later on, Matobato testified against the former president in a series of Senate hearings and went into hiding for 10 years. Matobato has reportedly fled the Philippines, and according to former Senator and Justice Secretary Laila de Lima, the hitman is now under the care or custody of the International Criminal Court or ICC.
And now, just like Mr. Las Cañas, what I know is that he is also under the protective custody now of the ICC in an undisclosed location.
So
Ang hindi ko lang alam if pagkakahurin ni Mr. Las Cañas ay na meron na that he was also granted immunity. Kasi si Mr. Las Cañas was granted limited immunity.
Now up next, price hikes quickened inflation during the last part of 2024 per latest data from the Philippine Statistics Authority. We'll be discussing this with economist Michael Ricafort when the Big Story returns. Keep it here on One News.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Big Story here on One News.
Right, we start with the economy this time around. Inflation quickened to 2.9% in December. That is compared to 2.5% in November 2024. The full-year average for 2024 of 3.2% is also well within the 2 to 4% target band of the government. And according to the Philippine Statistics Authority, the main driver was rising housing utilities and fuel prices, and at the forefront of which were LPG or liquefied petroleum gas, rentals, and electricity prices. Transport fares also helped accelerate inflation in December. Price hikes for sea travel quickened to 71.9% in December, compared to just over 17% in November. Food remains to be a major contributor to inflation, especially tomatoes, which logged an astounding 120% inflation rate. Tomatoes alone were the third biggest contributor to our December inflation print. But the PSA also noted that rice inflation slowed to 0.8% in December, the lowest that it has been since 2022. In fact, the PSA thinks that inflation figures for rice will finally turn negative in January.
Let's delve into the numbers further with Michael Riccaforte. He is the head of the Economic Research and Chief Economist at RCBC. Magandang gabi. Welcome to the Big Story.
Hi, good evening, ladies and your viewers. Happy New Year and nice to be back.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year, Mike.
Mike, inflation is up for the third straight month at 2.9%. It quickened by 0.4%. Is it right to think that this is normal given that December was holiday season?
That's right, Gretchen. It's widely expected because during the Christmas and New Year holidays and run-up for both of which, expect seasonal increase in demand and, of course, in prices, but only to go down upon crossing the New Year. So there's still a chance that headline inflation would remain at 2% levels until early this year. And, the other factors, of course, there's still the tail end effects of the storm damage, the typhoon and the flood damage in recent months, including the shear line. So we have seen that in the uptick in the prices of vegetables. But primarily, it's the holiday season that drove the prices up. And if we look at the big picture, well, the world prices of commodities are still relatively low, like the likes of oil, sugar, even world rice prices are just posted new 3-year lows in the world market. So that's on top of the reduced tariffs to 15% from 35% as of early July. So that's an outright 20% discount on imported rice. And on top of that, we have the lower world prices. So at new 3-year lows, so that would really support relatively benign inflation because this is still within the BSP's target of 2 to 4%. This is the 2.9%. It may have been the fastest in 4 months, but that's still among the lowest in more than 4 years. Among the slowest since October of year 2020. And it's still relatively benign. And for as long as the unique factors for the Philippines that would keep this relatively lower, as we mentioned, the lower tariffs on imported rice, lower world rice prices. And if you look at other commodity prices, it's not just, oil is still among the lowest in 3 years. Yeah, the same goes with the likes of the world prices of sugar, wheat, soybean, corn. They're among the lowest levels in 3 to 4 years. So,
Mike?
yeah, because that's already an offshoot of the interest rate hikes for nearly 3 years already. It was triggered by the Russia-Ukraine war since February of 2022. So, the interest rate hikes effectively slowed down the world economy because the primary mandate of the central banks around the world is to maintain price stability or to stabilize prices. So they would do everything, and they have used interest rates as a tool to achieve that objective.
Okay, Mike, let's talk about looser monetary rates and lower rates in just a little bit. I want to just focus in, you mentioned the tariff lowering, right, from 35% to 15%. Are you seeing that in the slowdown in rice prices for the first time, no? 0.8% in December, no less. That is the lowest it's been in 2 years. Can we say that this is directly correlated to that tariff cut?
Yes, Sean. mathematically, because we're coming from a high base, because inflation is year-on-year change in prices. Well, a year ago, prices of rice are relatively higher. And since the first week of July, we have seen an outright reduction in import tariff rates on imported rice. So that's an outright 20% discount right. Well, since then. So yeah, because the taxes being paid for imported rice is just down to 15% from 35%.
Is it
So
sustainable,
that only
though?
started in July, and the world rice prices, yeah, declined. The world rice prices came from 15-year highs during the drought, during the heat wave. It's not only here in the Philippines, but in most of Asia, especially the rice producing and exporting countries. So that was already done and over with. That was July 2023 to July 2024.
So you're
And now,
saying,
suddenly, when the rains came in, uh, world rice prices suddenly went down. Now it's at 3-year low. So that's gonna further help reduce
Isn't that
prices
artificial
of
though?
imported rice.
Mike, isn't that artificial if it's caused by the lowering of tariffs? At yung nireklamo ng mga farmer, hindi naman daw bumababa ang presyo ng bigas. Kahit sabihin po natin, you're mentioning that it is on a 3-year low, but we're not feeling the lower prices of rice.
True, Gretchen, ay yung issue ngayon, no? Parang kailangan talaga maramdaman yan sa retail level ng mga consumers, no? Kasi kumbaga bumaba na yung presyo, bumaba na yung import tax on rice, bumaba na rin yung world price ng rice. So kapag mag-import yung presyo ng imported na bigas, lalo pong bumaba, no? Doon sa combination ng dalawang factors na yun. Kaya yung datos, kitang-kita doon na may posibilidad nga na di ba ngayon halos 0%, 0.8% year on year itong December. There's even a chance for it to kung bumaba pa talaga yan, no?
Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, gusto ko itanong sa'yo kasi pinag-uusapan namin to ni Gretchen at saka ni Pauline since last week pa yung rental prices pababa na nga, di ba? Naglabas yung BSP and I know you commented on it na sinabasa ko na na-quote ka sa mga articles online. So you have given your thoughts, no? But it says here one of our main drivers for inflation in December was rentals. Part of it was rentals, but David Lichu was just saying na pababa na yung presyo, housing prices according to the BSP also going down. So in your opinion, no, kayo dyan sa RCBC, are you guys giving more favorable kumbaga housing loans? Is it a good time to buy or to rent? What's your advice?
Well, Sean, may correction na nangyayari, no? Kasi because, well, the ban on POGOs, well, that led to suddenly vacancies, no? The expats that actually sila yung nagpataas ng presyo pati ng lease rates from 2016 to 2020 and nagka-pandemic. Tapos, syempre, demand and supply kasi yan. Even before the ban on POGO, ang vacancy rate nasa mga hovering between 16 to 18% na. Yung vacancies, we're talking about yung mga office space, yung mga residential condo, and yung mga official estimates, no? Tapos syempre dumating tong POGO ban. So na-vacate din yung mga office spaces na ino-occupy nila ng mga POGOs, yung mga condos kung saan sila umuupa, ganun din yung ibang residential units kung saan di sila umuupa. O yung iba, kasi mga foreigners, pwede naman sa condo eh. O, iba, bebenta rin kung sakaling ibenta din nila. So demand and supply. Ngayon, mas maraming supply ngayon, so talagang expected na pag ganyan, may downward correction sa property price and also sa rental rates or sa lease rates.
Pero
No?
Mike, question lang, Mike, bakit, help us understand why rising housing cost is a factor in the 2.9% inflation in December. What composes that housing cost? Hindi ba rental yon?
Well, yung medyo combination yan, Gretchen. Kasi yung mga adjustments sa mga rentals, normally, in recent years, lalo na ng pandemic, nagre-reflect yan start of the year, mga January. So, especially mga about 1 to 2 years ago, kasi yun yung mga yearly adjustments, yung mga kontrata, whether new contracts yan sa mga rentals or sa leases or mga renewals, no? Nandun Doon, yung start of the year yung adjustments, no? Pero kasi itong nakita din natin, maaring halo na yan eh, yung utilities, isa rin yung sa nag-ambag for the month, no? Yung utilities, no? Yung halo-halo na yan, yung fuel, light, water, yung mga rentals. Pero kasi marami ring adjustments, yung naka-apekto rin kasi yung weaker peso, no, sa mga adjustments sa utilities, di ba? Yung pagtaas ng presyo ng kuryente, ng tubig. Kasi mayroong mga foreign currency adjustments. Kasi yung exchange rate kasi, although nakakap naman siya sa 59, narespeto naman yung 59. Pero nanggaling kasi yan sa 55.45, yung pinakamababa niyan no September 20. Tapos nung naging yung Trump factor nung nagiging when it became likely that Trump would win the elections, and in fact he won, yun nabawasan yung possible na Fed rate cuts. Ayun na yung nakita natin, kaya tumaas yung dollar, kaya yun din yung naging hindi lang dito pati worldwide, no, the dollar yen, dollar Asian currencies, kita natin mahina din yung euro kasi nabawasan yung possible na rate cuts ng Fed. Gawa nga yung potential, yung possible na protectionist measures ni Trump that would lead to higher inflation, higher wages, syempre higher import tariffs, and that would lead to kung matuloy yung mga pinaplano niya na stimulus spending, tax cuts, yung mga tax breaks. So those are inflationary in nature. It would lead to higher inflation. So nabawasan yung Fed rate cuts, and that led to the stronger dollar. So ganun yung na-reflect din yon, no, sa tsaka rin kasi actually yung factors bakit nag-pick up din yan kasi galing din tayo sa mga series of storms, malalakas na bagyo, no? Mula pa ng July kay Karina, nagtuloy-tuloy yan, no? Kaya apektado rin yung normally pag bagyo kasi tumataas din yung ibang presyo ng lalo na yung mga food, agricultural products, and damay na rin pag may disruptions until magkakaroon ng supply chain normalization sa mga hard-hit areas. So, ayun yung main factors do sa pick-up ng inflation. Pero ganun pa man din, this is still relatively benign. Kumbaga, kung within the BSP's target of 2 to 4%. So therefore, going forward, kung early part of this year, 2% levels pa rin. So within safely within the target of the BSP. So justified and warranted pa rin yung future rate cuts natin, no? Susunod lang naman yung buong mundo, yung sa Fed, no, yung expected na Fed rate cuts. Yun ang sinabi ng Fed officials, 50 basis points cut for this year, 50 basis points cut next year, and 25 basis points cut by 2027. So, ayun, there's a good chance many central banks, including ours, would match those rate cuts. So, yun yung environment natin, no? Kung titignan natin mabuti, medyo relatively benign pa rin yung inflation. But primarily kasi yung rice, malaking, ang weighting kasi ng rice is 9% of the total inflation basket. Kaya yung yung pag-slow down ng rice prices, yun, nakatulong yun sa pagbaba ng headline inflation. Pero nakita naman natin din na, may mga proposal nga na no, na ito na, yung talaga para ang objective, maramdaman talaga ng general public, ng mga consumers yung pagbaba ng presyo ng gas.
Mike, thank you so much for weighing in as usual. A lot of details. Pero abangan namin, no, kung talagang mag-rate cut nga yung BSP, by how much and how many times. Okay, maraming salamat. Michael Ricafort, Head of Economic Research and Chief Economist over at RCBC.
We still have more stories coming up. After the break, the Bases Conversion and Development Authority has regained control of the Camp John Hay property in Baguio City. We'll be speaking with BCDA President and CEO Joshua Bingka on what we can expect from the takeover when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News. Welcome back to the big story here on One News. Last January 6th, the Bases Conversion and Development Authority, or BCDA, regained control of the Camp John Hay property in Baguio City. This after a Supreme Court ruling which allowed the BCDA to recover the property from the Camp John Hay Development Corporation. This is a result of a long-drawn legal battle after a 2015 arbitral ruling that voided the 1996 John Hay lease agreement between the BCDA and CJH DevCo. Now, just this January 3, Branch 6 of the Baguio Regional Trial Court junked CJH DevCo's motion to delay the recovery of the subject property.
The question now is, what's next for the management of the Camp John Hay property and its development, as well as its upkeep? Well, joining us tonight is BCDA President and CEO Joshua Bingkang, Engineer Bingkang. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Good evening, ladies, and great New Year greeting here from Baguio City.
Okay, Camp John Hay, its future has been embroiled in lawsuits left and right since I was a teenager engineer. Can you tell us very quickly how you were able to resolve and score this win from the Supreme Court?
Of course, we are very thankful with the decision of the Supreme Court. Now, finally, after more than 10 years, Camp John Hay is back with the capable and caring hands of the government or under BCDA. So we just followed the rule of the law after the Supreme Court has decided with finality to turn over back the property to BCDA. We waited for the other process, no, to let the rule of law to follow its due course. So the RTC has ordered the sheriff to ordered and issue notice to vacate to the developer, which we did yesterday, and we are so very thankful that the transition, the turnover yesterday was so very peaceful, smooth, and very quick. No, the people here in Baguio did not notice that there was a change of hand or leadership inside Camp John Hay, that where the other party before is showing some scare scenario na baka magkagulo. But yesterday, after the takeover in just 2 hours lang, and then after that we went around the city, the Camp John Hay, and we gazed around the area and we saw people, and the area, it's at its normalcy, no? People are enjoying the allure and charm of Camp John Hay. So yun ang nakakatuwa sa amin, na napaka-smooth ng transition and takeover yesterday.
Sorry to interrupt, no, but we're running out of time. Of course, everyone is really worried. The favorite nila pumunta sa Camp John Hay, all of us here, we love it there. What's going to happen? We understand, though, from reports and your press releases, which we have received, that the golf club will have a temporary management, and then the rest of the facilities, the hotel, the manor, will have temporary management. These will be different groups, but we're just wondering, like, biglaan ba to? Were you guys shocked? How fast did you arrange these management companies? How long will they last? And kailan po magkakaroon ng bidding?
Yes. So while we are preparing for the long-term management contract for these facilities, no, yung hotels and golf courses, so several months back, we already invited several credible private developers to partner with us for an interim, a short-term arrangement to make sure that there will be smooth transition, business continuity, and business as usual business inside Camp John Hay. So we invited several partners, and ang napili namin after evaluating is the MVP group. So they will be managing the facility for the next 6 months and renewable for another 6 months. So we expect better services, no, kung paano na-enjoy ng mga tao ang Camp John Hay, mga facilities dito. We will provide better services and also better employment opportunities para sa mga tao dito sa Baguio City.
Well, Engineer, Landco Corporation, as we all know, is under the MVP Group, and they did commit to retain business as usual in Camp John Hay. They also said they wanted to protect the jobs of the employees. Can you talk about what's in store for them in the coming months as this transition happens?
Yes, in fact, no, the day before, yesterday, and today, the people greeting us at the lobby, at the front desk, are all the same. So meaning, na-retain sila, no? They were given priority to keep their jobs. So yun naman ang gusto namin, no? Normalcy, no? Ayaw namin magkaroon ng disturbance dito sa loob ng Camp John Hay. At ang kagandahan dito sa partner namin with the MVP Group, they prioritize the protection of jobs, and they will promise better services and terms for their employment, no? So we will announce later on in the coming days the terms of our arrangement with them.
Well, Engineer, being part of the MVP group, we're very excited in disclosing that. Ano? Pero do you have any clues as to the direction with this partnership? What can we expect? What new things can we expect? And to be honest, I'm a personal, I go there all the time in Camp John Hay.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that it is very public. Nakakapasok ka, nakakalabas ka, walang humaharang sa'yo. It's gonna be the same. And when we talk about the whole Camp John Hay complex, what is the scope of that? What are the boundaries of that?
Yes, yes. Well, Camp John Hay is more than 600 hectares. No, it's more than almost 3 size of Bonifacio Global City. The first thing that we're gonna do, no, after we complete this turnover process is we will update the master plan. No, kasi the master plan that we have is more than 25 years ago, and normally master plans are being updated every 5 years. So today we will make sure this year, no, we will launch an invitation for the updating of the master plan. But even that, no, marami na private developers have signified interest to be part in the redevelopment of Baguio, of Camp John Hay, kasi marami pang undeveloped areas. But we want to make sure while we are going for maximum returns for the governments, no, for the government and for the LGU as well and for the public, we want to protect the environment. Kasi ito na lang ang natitirang no, na green space dito sa Baguio City. So we want to ensure that we keep that advantage and benefit that we have for Camp John Hay inside here in Baguio.
Maybe more hiking trails?
Engineer, apart from
Yes,
maintaining
but
the
no,
hiking and
yes, halimbawa, no, apart from master plan, no, nag-budget na rin kami ng mga infrastructure budget para na ma-enjoy ng public. Halimbawa, yung public road doon sa harapan, doon sa Melawahan Road. Nakikita ko ngayon kasi maliit yung mga pedestrian lane, delikado sa mga tao. So as a service to the public, we want to put to proper standard itong mga pedestrian lane, no, para mas ma-enjoy ng mga nagja-jogging kagaya ko. Ako, nag-jogging ako kanina, madilim. Bako-bako yung mga ibang areas. So ako mismo, I really want to make sure that people who are going to Baguio will enjoy this kind of services na na-enjoy nila sa Clark, sa Bonifacio Global City. At isa pang gagawin namin is to light up the area, no? Medyo it needs proper illumination. So with modern and smart facilities. So immediately implement namin 'yon. At yun naman na kino-coordinate ko na kay Mayor Magalong at tuwang-tuwa siya dahil yun din naman ang kanyang advocacy.
Yan yung sa Luwakan side, no? Engineer, madilim kasi doon eh. Speaking of Luwakan Road, improvements to that and lighting it up, yung airport ba, may planong i-develop? Yung PEZA zone doon, if I recall correctly, meron din. Are you planning to keep all of those also?
Well, truthfully, yung Lawakan Airport pinacheck ko, hindi pala amin, no? Hindi amin ang Lawakan. Unlike sa Clark, meron kaming sariling airport, international airport. But we will continue to coordinate closely with the LGU to make sure na yung mga plans namin dito sa Camp John Hay are well coordinated and aligned with the overall plans for the whole city. Halimbawa sa mass transport. Alam natin year-round, popular na destination na ang Camp John Hay, and we want to avoid traffic inside Camp John Hay. So isa sa project din namin ay yung mass transport system. Nakaayon din naman ng programa ni Mayor Benji Magalong dito. So the thing that we are doing, those flagship projects that we have done in Bonifacio Global City and we are doing in New Clark City, we will pursue them big time here this year in Camp John Hay.
Okay, what about investments to the manor? We understand, of course, that Landco, which is, just for full disclosure, sister company po namin within the MVP group. How big will it be? Will that entail na ayusin yung manor, papalakihin, dadamihan yung rooms kasi laging fully booked? And what happens to those villas na parang naka-time sharing yata? Are these all going to be part also of the investment?
Yes, for the hotels, no, we think those facilities are not enough. So we will be looking for other areas that we may cater to this kind of tourism development. But we expect that now that the LANCO is managing, no, although under an interim arrangement, these two hotels, we expect better services, no. They are doing an inventory right now, and they will come up with recommendations soon that we will implement together to make sure that we will upgrade, no, even the facilities that we have in these two hotels. And for the villas, or the other structure facilities that we are very glad that many of these structure owners have approached us. They have signified interest to continue their stay here by coming up with a new arrangement with the government. So ang mangyayari, the government will earn its rightful share of revenues, and while giving them the consideration for them to continue to stay inside Camp John Hay.
So when will we start seeing the developments? I mean, from here on, at what month should we go and head on over to Camp John
Mabilis
Hay?
na po yan, no? Tulad po yung, meron pa kong, halimbawa, no, we did a quick check of the area. Halimbawa po, kung kayo na familiar na pumupunta sa Baguio, yung Mile High, it's a landmark area then, no? It's in a sad state now. But we already received proposals to renovate and upgrade that facility. Immediately this first quarter, ay gagawa na namin ng award yung project na yon, and other areas, no, we will continue to improve the facility para mas maraming opportunity and choices yung ating mga citizen and public when they enter Camp John Hay.
Clarify lang
This year,
natin.
ma'am, you will see a lot of development na mangyayari dito sa loob ng John Hay.
Can we clarify, engineer, if LANCO din, yung magde-develop ng Mile High? I did see a social media post na yun nga daw yung unang, kumbaga, ayusin since it's been so long.
Yes. Well, no one's preventing LANCO to submit other proposals within Camp John Hay. No? Ang ano naman ho namin dito is we will give opportunities for all credible partners and developers that we have in the past and existing ones. So those who will come up with the best offer, of course, yun ang bibigyan namin ng priority and consideration in awarding new contracts. But definitely, since LANCO is already here, they already have an advantage, no? They already have a good scanning of the environment for them to come up with what's more important and priority for Camp John as they offer advice to us as our interim partner.
Well, I can't wait for more
Exciting,
details.
I know.
Baka may...
Balik kayo dito, ma'am.
Kasi
See for
parang
yourself.
third coming na to ng Camp John Hay, di ba? At least in my lifetime. Bilang ako yung pinakamatanda dito sa aming show.
O parang isa pa lang sa amin eh. One
Isang
coming pa lang.
One coming pa lang sa kanila. So yun pala yung... sa akin kasi second coming, third coming na to, bale. So super exciting. And,
Baka makatikim tayo ng
Yes, ma'am.
Carmen's Best Ice Cream doon sa Camp John Hay, di ba?
Yan.
Sarap yung
Yes,
malamig.
Scout
we
Hill.
are saying all along, ma'am, this Supreme Court decision is a victory for all of us. No? It's a victory for the Philippine people. Na kesa iilan lang ang nakikinabang for the longest time na nadideprive ang gobyerno, ang public ng kanilang rightful share of benefits. This time, we'll make sure that it's the Filipino citizen, the public, will enjoy and benefit most for this transition and with BCDA at the helm.
Well, that's great news indeed. And we look forward to more to come. Maraming salamat for updating us. We hope to have you again on this show. And,
Maraming
and for
salamat
us to
po.
be the first to know. Joining us tonight, Basis Conversion and Development Authority President and CEO Joshua Bingka.
Okay, on that very exciting note, na-excite tuloy ako mag-Baguio.
Oo,
I'm going
time to
in
plan
March
your
for
trip.
a wedding,
Ay,
so I'm
okay.
going to pass by.
Kaya?
Yeah.
Ako favorite ko din mag-jogging eh.
Ako hindi ko favorite mag-jogging.
Ikaw.
Nakahinga doon.
Ikaw.
So ako, ang memories ko in Camp John Hay would be pag Christmas, may fireplace doon, di ba?
Yes.
And you take your pictures when
Baka pwede kang ikasal doon, ano?
Ah, gano'n?
Pwede pa
Baka may
naman,
discount.
check ko.
Oh, may discount. December.
Pwede yan.
Okay, bago tayong, or baka rather, mapagpawisan si Kuya over there. Tatapusin ko na to. Don't worry, Andre. That's it for the big story tonight.
We are one news, all sides, all the time.